And I was so tired of my actions having a negative impact on other people. And so I was like, you know what? I did it. Like, I did it myself. Here's what I did. Here's how I did it. Here's where you can find the rest of the jewelry. I just wanted it to be over. And it was like, in that moment, I knew simultaneously, it was this, like, I felt so light, but I was also so broken, and I knew that I was in trouble because of what I had just confessed to, but I didn't care. I just wanted it to be over.
What if the same drive that once led you down a dark road became the fire that rebuilt your life? Today, on Lessons for Life, I sit with a man whose story is nothing short of redemption. Once struggling with addiction, he is now a symbol of strength, faith, and discipline. I'm talking about Snazzy Jazzy Jeff Vickers, a man who went from heroin to holistic health, from brokenness to becoming whole again in mind, body, and spirit. If you want to learn more about how to become free from addictions, then you're going to have to stay tuned. This is Lessons for Life with Dr. Ron. Today it is Lessons for Life with Dr. Ron, Bill, and Snazzy Jazzy Jeff. He didn't know I gave him that name. We are here at Seed to Table in sunny Naples, Florida. We love this place. We're appreciative of Alfie. And if you're ever in town, we'd love to meet you personally. We designed Lessons for Health, our Lessons for Life, our whole goal was to bring testimonies, and Jeff was kind enough to come here today to share a testimony. He's been vulnerable. He's done this before at his local church and been kind enough to share this with you with the hopes that we can touch many lives, that someone may be walking through a situation or scenario that we're going to discuss today. So again, if you're ever in town, we have coffee afterwards. You're welcome to join us. Bill and I would love to meet you personally. And in fact, if you'd ever have a desire on your heart to share a testimony, again, that's what Lessons for Life was founded on. And also, people ask how they can help us, and we've noticed that so many people haven't subscribed to the channel. So on our YouTube channel, it very much helps to share this out. If you click the subscribe button, it doesn't cost you anything. And also on all social media platforms, we appreciate the likes and follows. It's very, very helpful for us. On a side note, we have a sponsor today, BetterHelp. We want to thank them, and we'll have more on that later. But moving forward, been looking forward to this interview. Jeff and I met and discussed the possibility of taking his testimony over a month ago, and so we're really excited about that. So, people see you as a confident guy. I mentioned that you're an image of fitness, and when you get to know you talk about some of the things that you've walked through in your life that I had no idea about. So we want to talk about that process and that transformation. And so with that, I'm going to introduce Jeff Vickers. I titled him, the title actually for the message I put down is Jeff Vickers, Snazzy Jazzy Jeff on Addiction, from the love of drugs to loving life and to loving the people around him. So with that, how we do?
Sounds good. Yeah, I appreciate that. I do. I've known Ron for a few years now, but this is actually the first time that we've had a chance to really talk about anything of substance. So this is a great opportunity, I think, to get to know each other better and just to kind of share my story in hopes that somebody that hears it might have an impact on their life as well.
Absolutely. And what I wanted to start out with is just early life. I have down, what was life like growing up, and when did addiction or drugs enter the picture of your life? If we can get like a little bit of that shape or any other direction you feel on your heart you really want to move.
Yeah. So I grew up going to church and loved doing all those church activities, was heavily involved as a child. And then somewhere young teenage years, 12, 13, 14, started to kind of hang around with some different people and start to smoking a little weed from time to time, and then got into alcohol and drugs and just kind of drifted further and further away down that path as time went on. But yeah, I grew up with a good solid foundation. Had everything going for me in a sense of a supportive family, a loving family, and decided to take a different path.
Okay. Well, so the question I put down is, what was happening in your life emotionally and mentally that led you down, a path that's negative or a path of addiction? Like how do people really, I know a lot of times it's who you're hanging around and whatnot, but for you, what was that?
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot. And I think it was just curiosity, and to some degree, I think it was a little bit, I think the church historically did not do a good job of addressing problems, let's say with like in relation to sex, in relation to drugs and alcohol, it was kind of a just don't do it, you know, like just because we said so.
This is such a powerful discussion.
And I didn't like that. You know, you tell 2 kids not to play with fire. I was the one that had a scar because I needed to know why. And so I needed a little bit more than that, I think, in order to have a reason not to do it. And, you know, a lot of people learn from experience. And unfortunately, I went the experience path as opposed to just being taught from a textbook, you know, that this is what you should and shouldn't do. I needed to know more of a why. And I think it was, and, you know, not to blame anything on anyone, but I do think a problem in the church in general, historically more so than today, I think they're doing a better job of it today, is addressing these things and talking about them. You know, it's kind of like a don't talk, don't tell type of a policy. And I don't think that was great.
Yeah, I think I didn't know we were going to go there, but I think that's, I think it's really important. I think, you know, a lot of pastors, and Pastor Anthony Thomas was on a few weeks ago, that video will be coming up shortly for those that have not seen it yet, because we have not posted it. But he discussed, you know, how many of the pastors are just not doing their calling. They're dancing around politics and trying to please people. And he calls it the kumbaya, but we're really not helping advance and educate and strengthen, you know, the people of the church. And it's really the job of the pastor to educate and guide people properly, and not just give the pray and everything good will turn out, you know, type of message.
And empowering families to have these conversations as well, to have these discussions within the family. They're not taboo subjects. We need to talk about them.
No, they're real.
You know, because they do impact everyone, whether you struggle with those issues or not, whatever it may be. These things need to be discussed, because you need to be armed with the truth and armed with the defense to things that you encounter in your life. Otherwise, you will fall victim to these things. You know?
And I know Bill, when he comes in momentarily, he has something strong to talk about on that, because that was something we were going to get into coming up in a future message on the book of Romans and what have you. I also have a question. Now, obviously, you might want to tell us if you feel so, as far as different, I never talked to you about different types of drugs. I just have heroin.
Yep.
But whatever drug it was, or whatever addiction you have out there, because it's not just about drugs. Jeff's just going to talk about, you know, he's being raw and being vulnerable to discuss where he was and where he is now. But how does that, you know, affect, I put down, relationships and your purpose and your sense of self, like when you're in that world?
The only thing that mattered to me was getting what I wanted. You know, it's an extreme self-centeredness that is cultivated, I guess, by those kind of behaviors and that kind of lifestyle. The only thing that mattered was, getting what I wanted when I wanted it. There was this instant gratification, which is,
we've heard this before.
Yeah, kind of prevalent in our society. We want everything and we want it right now.
Yeah, so true.
But I didn't care who I hurt or what I had to say or do. Just I wanted what I wanted, and that was the only thing that was important.
Yeah, so it's interesting, because we interviewed Big Bill, just because I got Snazzy Jazzy Jeff today. He had no idea, but and I'll explain that. Actually, there's a reason for that. But you know, we heard Big Boxer Paul do these similar ideas of people that went down a really rough road, and even the heaviness of selfishness and self-consumption, and really not really giving a damn about other people, frankly, because you're so wrapped up in that world, especially, and I've never experienced this, don't ever want to know, but in the area of paraphernalia or drug addiction. But when did you, so the next thing I wrote down for me to ask you is, when did you realize that things were truly spiraling out of control? Like, when did these moments really take hold? Because we start out, and also just could you tell us a little bit, like in your younger years, from, you know, before the age of 10 into the early teens, when really our bodies and hormones kick in and all these changes take place. Who was Jeff behind the scenes then?
Before it all started, or as that was going on?
I want to backtrack and understand who you were in the beginning, mom and dad, child, upbringing. Were you told by, because this is questions that we've asked everyone, were you told by your parents that they love you? Were you told by your parents that they're proud of you? Like, I really want to continue that flow of what did the upbringing look like, and then really move into just about you. You know, what you did to get yourself out of this whole thing.
Well, that's in one sense, it goes both directions, but that's in one sense the unfortunate thing about it, is that I came from a good, loving family that was supportive and was able to provide for me and all of these things. So I had all of the pieces in place to, have a successful life. I had those examples set by my parents of how you should behave. But I do think a lot of it came down to, and they would tell you the same thing, that they did not do a great job of maybe having these tough conversations with us as kids, my sister and I both. And so, I think we both kind of wanted to figure out those things. Well, why is this not something I should do? And we were both the kind of curiosity,
power struggle,
driven individuals who wanted to kind of test the waters and see, why is it that I shouldn't do these things? And so that was kind of the genesis of it, but it wasn't because I came from a broken home that was, filled with these types of problems. No, I was first generation, just taking it on my, going that direction on my own.
How about the concept? 3 things. Parents, did they acknowledge their love for you? Did they mention the word that they're proud of you? Because these are big problems. People watching right now, I mentioned I had a roommate that struggles. He's in his 50s today. He's still struggling. His father, unfortunately, has passed. But I knew one of the hangups he had, his dad never told him, amongst all his successes, the millions he made, never was told on the deathbed that his father was proud of him. And I know how painful that is, and I've heard it from many men. So I just want to get that. I want to circle back to that, and then let's go. The other one was crying, like parents to tell the men they can't cry, like not being able to reflect emotions. That was the other one.
Yeah, I would say the verbal communication of those things was limited. It wasn't non-existent, but it was limited. The actions were there, but I think kids definitely need both. You need to hear it, and then you need to see it. And so I saw a lot of it. I saw all the things that mean I love you and that I care about you and that I'm proud of you. But I wouldn't say that the verbal communication of that was there on the same level. Okay. And so I think you need both.
Okay. Well, you answered the question I was going to throw at you. What would you do now, like if it were you or your children, that type of thing? So you acknowledge that that's a powerful thing that kids need to hear.
Yes, the communication, I think, needs to be better.
So back to spiraling out of control. Was there a time, and the other question I have that basically marries that when we look at the breaking point and turning point in your life, I said, what was the lowest point at the moment where you might have said, I can't live like this anymore? It's kind of one and the same. Like, where is that point where you hit rock bottom that really made you reflect that this is not where you want to stay?
Yeah, so I'll go back to kind of maybe where this should have started, which was that 10 years ago, I was shooting heroin every day and on my way to prison. I spent 20 years using drugs and selling drugs and just doing all the wrong things. During that time, I destroyed everything that came into my life, from relationships to finances to my career. I was briefly married. Basically, anyone that came in contact with me was negatively affected in some capacity by my actions. But the further I went down that path, the less I cared, and the more I was only concerned about myself. And so in May of 2016, I had exhausted all my resources when it came to jobs and manipulating family and friends for money and things like that. And I was kind of at the end of my financial rope once again, but this time I saw no way out of it. And so I had been working for a jewelry company, and I had access to the safe, how to get in it.
Wow.
And so I went in and stole about $1 million worth of jewelry.
Now we're really getting
from
to
a company that I had worked for. And I got arrested soon after. And what happened is that I was being interrogated by the detectives there, and they were asking me, did you know about this? Do you know what happened? Kind of questions of that nature. And at one point throughout that day, they talked to me several times, and the final time that they talked to me, the detective, I couldn't pick him out of a lineup, but I appreciate what he did, and I didn't know the impact of that moment at the time. But he said, the manager for this store, like, he was out of town. Did he know about this? And the co-workers at that store that you had, like, they're afraid to go back in. They don't know, like, who else was connected to this or what exactly is going on. And in that moment, I just felt the weight of everything I had done over all of this time. I had never taken responsibility for my actions. It was always some, extravagant circumstance or not my fault. This just happened because of this. It was never my fault. I just kicked the can of responsibility down the road for basically 2 years. And in that moment, I felt all of it. And I was so tired of my actions having a negative impact on other people. And so I was like, you know what? I did it. Like, I did it myself. Here's what I did. Here's how I did it. Here's where you can find the rest of the jewelry. I just wanted it to be over. And it was like, in that moment, I knew simultaneously, it was this, like, I felt so light, but I was also so broken. And I knew that I was in trouble because of what I just confessed to, but I didn't care. I just wanted it to be over. And so from that moment forward, it's been this journey of, facing the consequences that I am due because of my behavior. And so, like, all of those things that I did over all of that time, I'm still dealing with the consequences of a lot of that stuff. Accepting responsibility for your actions doesn't mean that you get a pass for whatever happened. It just means that now I'm going to be accountable for what I did, and I'm just going to face those things. And it was that moment that was so powerful. And I look back on that kind of fondly because that honestly probably saved my life.
Wow. Once again, you need to rewind that. I mean, you could feel Jeff's heart there, his sincerity, how these interviews are the real thing. These are the real testimonies of people that have been through some deep, we'll say, crap as Pastor Henry would say. So was there a spiritual moment or encounter that started to evolve? Because we talked a little bit before we turned the camera on about your faith. The foundation of Lessons for Life wasn't necessarily that everyone coming on was going to even be a believer in Jesus Christ, but because you acknowledged that from the beginning, and the church that you attend, that you shared this testimony with your church, is there a point where you feel your faith really played a role in turning this thing around for you? Because you just mentioned some, I know nothing of what Jeff just said, and you just mentioned some really heavy stuff.
Yeah, so after I confessed, I got my nice little orange jumpsuit and went straight to a jail cell where I would live for the next 2+ years. And a few days after, I kind of, I was high at the time and on drugs, but maybe a week to 10 days into that, when I started to kind of feel normal again, the first thing I did was to request a Bible from the chaplain there in the jail here in Collier County. And started reading the Bible again for the first time since I was a kid. And, right there in a bottom bunk on the upstairs unit of the Collier County Jail, like, I surrendered my life to Jesus Christ really for the first time. Looking back, I didn't have that relationship as a kid, so I did it right then and there. And it's been this just basically 10-year journey of trying to, deepen that relationship and just be obedient.
So the duration, that was a question I had. So a 10-year journey. Bill and I, by the way, we knew nothing about Jeff's story, about prison time, any of that, although the Holy Spirit has an amazing way. It does parallel actually 3 of the other testimonies we've just done almost back to back. So that was a long process. And what did the healing, I'm trying to phrase it, what did that healing look like? Like, because Bill and I can't speak for Bill, but for me, I have no idea of addiction. I don't do any drugs, never had an addictive personality. I drink no alcohol at this point in my life. What does that look like? So many people that are going to be watching this are struggling, as I said in the beginning. We all have our weaknesses. Bill was teaching on a book called The Masks of Masculinity, how we hide behind things, especially us men. But when you're in those depths, what does that feel like for you? Or what did that feel like when you were coming out? You got the Bible, you were starting to move out of this. Like, some people have, they say, like an epiphany. It's like, bam. Other people, it's a very long road, a long process. What was that like for you to start moving out of, I'll call it the pit of hell?
So in reference to addiction, I went through it myself. I don't really understand it. When I got out of prison, I went and got a master's degree in addiction counseling. Well, I still have my internship to do, but I did that. And part of it was just to kind of learn about what it was that I'd been dealing with. And, even having gone through it, it's like this kind of out-of-body other person experience where I don't get it. Like, over the 20 years, every few years, I would kind of cycle back down to, like, hit a new bottom, a new low, whatever you want to call that. And as I look back, it was kind of like God was giving me opportunity after opportunity to get the message. You know, like, all right, dude, I'm going to slam you a little bit harder this time. I'm going to let you fall a little bit harder this time and give you another chance to get it. And as I look back, I'm like, man, how did this or that or the other happen and me not get the message? Like, why did it take so much for me to get it? And so I don't expect somebody who's never been through it, because I have a textbook understanding of it. I have a real world understanding of it, and I still don't get it. So it's just something that it is what it is.
The question I have, and I'll try to rephrase it a little bit. The things that I was thinking about. Was there a point where the question is, what changed how you saw yourself? But I'm trying to think, like, did you see yourself? Did something click and you see yourself as a different Jeff? I mean, did you see a man who's blessed? Did you see a man that God, you know, we say God doesn't make junk, that you really realize that you have a purpose? Was there anything there like that?
There's no one profound moment for me. It's just been this kind of journey where I can look back. There's a quote, it's Soren Kierkegaard, and he says, life can only be understood looking backwards, but it must be lived forwards. And so for me, it's like just kind of peeking up every few years, I guess, to look back and be like, wow, I have come a long way. Okay. So there's no one like moment that I can point to. It's just been this slow progression of progress. And it went for me the other direction too. You know, it was like the frog in boiling water. I wasn't just thrown into shooting dope. You know, that's not how it was, this slow descent into that. You know, just the heat slowly got turned up and I just got cooked.
Yeah, frog in boiling water. I hope you are enjoying Lessons for Life with Dr. Ron. Now, a quick thank you to our sponsor, BetterHelp. Thanks, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this video. Ever thought your life would look a certain way by now? Career, family, milestones, and it just didn't? It's normal to feel like you've fallen behind. Life changes, graduating, changing jobs, becoming a parent, and facing empty nest can really affect your mental health. If you haven't seen a therapist yet, what's holding you back? And if you have, you know how life-changing it can be. A therapist listens, asks questions, and gives you tools to help you see things differently and make positive changes. BetterHelp makes starting therapy easy. Fill out a quick questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist in a few days, and switch anytime if it's not a right fit. No extra cost. With thousands of reviews and a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. Click the link in the description below or go to betterhelp.com/Dr. Ron to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/DRRON to get 10% off your first month. Now let's get back to the podcast. So I want to move just briefly. We're going to come back to this and then Bill's coming in. I have down what daily habits or mindset shifts help grounded you, or what would you say to the person that doesn't know what to do right now or is in the same position you were in, whatever drug, whatever addiction they have? Do you have any any guideposts for them? Just things that come to mind?
Yeah, I do. Slow down and simplify. I was kind of given this amazing opportunity. And again, as I look back, I was, given an adult timeout. I had to go to prison for 2.5 years. And so what I started to recognize was that I have this time where they bring me my food, they do my laundry, they tell me when I get up, they tell me when to go to bed. I don't have any bills. So what I have is 26 or 28 months, whatever that total time was. I have this time to work on myself, to read the Bible every day, to, as much as possible, do the best I can with food, which in prison is tough to do. But I did what I could, and then I was exercising and and reading books all the time and training my mind. So I knew that things were going to be difficult when I got out, but I was given this opportunity where I was forced to simplify and forced to slow down because I'm not a part of society anymore. And so it gave me this opportunity to work on myself and to work on my relationship with God for when I got out. And I think it's really tough to do. It was easy for me because I had no choice. But I think that's a tough thing to do in this world because everything is so fast and there's so much going on that to slow down and simplify is a difficult thing to do. When I got out of prison, all I had left, my parents had kind of helped me with the whole situation. Like I had 2 dogs at the time when I got arrested and a house full of stuff and a car and all this stuff. Well, they got rid of everything. They saved a few clothes for me. So when I got out, I was starting at zero. Like, I didn't have to strip down my life. It was done for me.
Wow.
But it was this amazing thing that happened to me, because now I can rebuild on something solid as opposed to having just all this junk in my life. I can methodically, slowly, intentionally add back the things that I want in my life and reject all those things that I don't need. And so it was this such a blessing.
All right, tilt your head. I hope you
This way?
enjoy. Yeah, that way. See, we got the enjoy behind us now. We changed that. I'll tell you, that is we have master classes every week. You need to rewind that. What Jeff just said, I'm going to listen to that again and again. We are so friggin' distracted, and everything he mentioned, I never thought, I mean, I was never in prison, so to look at the way you just expressed it, it actually gave you a chance to reground yourself. Unbelievable. I haven't heard that said that way, even though it seems so simple. I haven't thought about that way for people that have been incarcerated in prison. The question I have, it's going to be a nice follow through. Did you forgive yourself and others? And did that forgiveness ever happen? And if it did it play a role in where you are in your healing today? Because forgiveness is a conversation Bill and I have gone over, where whether it's someone that that doesn't forgive a family member, whatever forgiveness is in a general statement it's a whole podcast and multiple on its own. But what for you?
The hardest thing for me is forgiving myself. And I think that's a common thing. My family has been amazing, extremely forgiving and supportive as I've gone through this process. I've reached out to certain people that were, again, affected negatively by just being close to me, nothing of their own doing, and asked for forgiveness. And people are usually pretty quick to do that. I have a harder time forgiving myself, and that's a process that I think I'll always be.
That's really
ongoing.
That's really what I was wondering.
Yeah.
If you're able to get there, so that's still a work in progress.
Oh,
but you were blessed to have people that forgave you around you, because that doesn't happen all the time. Many people, family members, disown the child. I mean, there's a lot of situations that aren't real pretty when it comes to the depths of despair that you walk through.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's been pretty forgiving, and I'm the same way too. Like, I'll forgive you in a heartbeat, but I can't forgive myself for some reason. So like the same grace I can extend to others, I have a hard time extending to myself. But on the other side of that's an okay thing, I think, in some capacity, because it keeps me sharp, right? It keeps me focused that, all right, dude, like, you don't have any room for error. You screwed up too.
Keeps you humble?
Yeah, it keeps me humble, and it keeps me focused, because it's like, you screwed up about as bad as someone can mess up. Like, you suffered consequences for your actions that are pretty dramatic, and like, you took addiction like all the way to the end, and there's no room for error. So part of that I use is like a double-edged sword, right? I try not to let it cut me too deep, but I try to use it to stay sharp and to stay focused on what I need to do in order to have some kind of a positive impact, to kind of, be successful, whatever that means, with the rest of my life, because I was given a second and third and fourth and fifth and 10th opportunity. And, I finally got the message. I just don't want to lose it. So it does help me in that capacity. Wow,
this is incredible. I hope you guys are really enjoying this. Hope you share this. So many people need to hear this message. The title of the message that I titled it was Jeff Vickers, Snazzy Jazzy Jeff, on addiction from love of drugs to loving life and people around him. So I think I did a pretty good job now that you're hearing him speak, from the love of drugs to loving life and the people around him. He does love the people around him. And why I went back to the title, when I met Jeff, I knew very little. I'm learning more about Jeff than anything I knew about him. When I met Jeff, he was kind in the gym. I looked at him. He's fit. He could be on any Men's Health magazine. You would never think he struggled with anything to do with eating, addiction. Never. He looks like the reason why. So the title, Snazzy, he dresses sharp. Look at the shirt he just threw on. He knows how to dress. He knows how to dress in the gym. He's jazzy. He does CrossFit. He can jump, do flips, all kinds of things. So the Snazzy Jazzy Jeff was really there because it was my opinion and the way I saw him, not knowing anything about, 2, 3, 4 years later that I hear about the addiction and crisis in prison and things he's walked through. So this has been really impactful for me. And it also comes back to never judge anyone. There's so much that goes on in life. The don't judge the book by the cover. I mean, this guy is fit as anyone. I just said that to someone in the gym today. This morning when I worked out, I said, I'm interviewing a guy. I said, he's more fit than anybody in this place. So, it's just appearance can be deceiving, but you've walked through the deepest depths and downturn in your life, and you pulled yourself out of it, and you also have managed to take care of your temple, of your body. And with that, right before Bill comes in, I want to talk about fitness and tools for transformation. And I do just want to start, and then Bill's coming. When did fitness become part of this journey, or was it always? Because I do want to ask that. And you mentioned nutrition and things of that nature too.
Yeah, so in some capacity, I mean, I started kind of taking an interest in all that stuff back when I was like 20 or 21. So even throughout all of my drug, and that probably to some extent helped me mask the severity of my problems, because on the surface I looked normal. So you want to talk about appearances. I knew that what I was doing behind the scenes as I was, you know, diving deeper and deeper into this world of drugs and all of that. But looking that would not be acceptable to family, friends, coworkers, right? And so on the surface, everything looked pretty normal, but behind the scenes, it was just a disaster. You know, like I was always, you know, one incident away from having it all just blow up again.
So it's interesting you say, again, we talked about the masks of masculinity.
Yeah.
So your parents, the fact that you look fit as anyone I've ever met. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it helped, and it would vary and kind of go in cycles of being good with those things and then falling away from it. But
that's, I want to come back. I think that's interesting. I'm just having a vision. You know, we talk about movies and things. Normally when you see a heroin addict, my vision of a heroin addict is he's laying in the street in California, wherever it is, in New York or whatever big city, with a needle stuck in their arm and they're passed out. Like that's what the movies portray it.
Right.
So that point that you just said, the fact that you are fit, and I didn't know that you had that look even back then. So I didn't know that.
Well, obviously it would come and go in a sense, but you know, that I think that gave me a higher starting point to fall from. So I wasn't falling as far because, you know, I had that kind of counterbalancing, I guess, what I was doing. But you know, it's interesting because, so I started working out in jail. There was a guy who slept in the bed next to me, and this was about the same time that I got a Bible and surrendered my life to Christ. This guy said, you know, let's go do some push-ups. So here I was, I hadn't worked out I was probably close to a year, because things had gotten really bad that past year. So it was nothing but drug use. So I was extremely skinny. I was super tiny. I did more look the part at that point.
Oh, so that's what I was trying to say. So you did know it, because I was thinking you were saying you always. So you never looked fat, morbidly obese. Never looked. Right, I was never looked like on your deathbed.
Yeah, and
but you didn't look like you do right now.
You know, showered and dressed decently, so it kind of covered up things.
Yeah,
you know,
understood.
But yeah, I was super skinny when I got arrested. I was. If I would have gotten away with what I had done for anything long, I was going to be dead. You know, that was going to be the end of it for sure. So it really did save my life. But basically about 10 days into my, what turned out to be over 2-year prison sentence, this guy next to me, his name was Melvin. He said, let's go do some push-ups. So we went and we started doing some push-ups. And the way they do push-ups and workouts in jail is you use a deck of cards, and you turn the cards over and you do the number of cards or push-ups that are on the card, right?
We're learning something.
Yeah. So if you do a deck of cards, it's like 440 push-ups, right, is the way it comes out. I didn't make it through half the deck that first day, and I was sore for like 3 or 4 days, but I slept a little better. And I felt a little better. And so this just continued. I started from there, just every day doing a little something. And this has just progressed. And it's something that I've continued to build on. Same thing with the food. You know, I did what I could in jail and prison. You actually have access to a little bit more. So I could do a little bit more. So it's been this progression of just like taking what I have, using it to the best of my advantage, and then adding to it as I continue to move through the different, you know, phases of life.
Okay. So for those, because this comes up in the medical setting that I'm in, for those that don't exercise, physical discipline, did it lead to, and does it lead to your inner healing? And for those that are looking for outlets that might be better than alcohol, drugs, pornography, what do you think about the gym? Because I am a guy that loves the gym, and I think you do too, but so many people fight me, and they won't exercise. And so,
well, I think just in a general sense, we've gotten so far away from, you know, because of the comforts of modern society, you don't have to go out and catch your food and build your own home and provide protection and shelter for your family or yourself, or build a fire and do these things. So we're not working with our bodies the way that we were designed and intended to do. So I think so many people have forgotten what it feels like to be in shape and to feel good. And so you don't have anything to compare it to, because maybe you were 9 the last time you were in shape, and so you don't know what it actually feels like. So doing it will give you kind of a new sense of, oh, well, this is actually maybe what normal feels like.
That's so good, because
we've normalized all these problems that people face as a result of a sedentary lifestyle that, just like, oh, it's fine that you feel that way, or it's okay, It's okay in a sense, but it's not okay to stay that way. Like, if I love you, I should tell you, like, hey, Ron, like, you being overweight like that is not what's best for your health, and I'm concerned about you and your future. And
I'm very resentful of that comment.
Right? You're just the closest person to me, so you're the one I had to use as an example. But, that's actually love, right? Is telling you that, like, hey, what's best for you is to get out there and move your body. Like, you'll feel better, you'll think better, all of that stuff. So
I just saw an image on social media. It was pretty profound. I thought about, like, for our generation, when we were kids, and Bill, of course, the days of being out riding your bicycles, kick the can, being in community, being in your neighborhood with all your friends. We don't have the kids today. They're on the GameCube or the Xbox, and they stay in their room. They don't have to leave the house. So what you just said is so profound. And the image I had for those that are in our age bracket, if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond, you can look back, we didn't have cellular phones. We would sit as a family at the dinner table. We'd have all this time together instead of just on technology. So it's incredible what has happened in actually a very short period of time. We talked about how we use our technology as babysitters for the kids, the tablet at the restaurant even, and things, and families that are on their phones. There's 6 people at a table, 8 people at a table, and not one of them is even looking at each other. Just the eye contact, all of that, the basic humanity. It's just unbelievable.
So there's another component to this as well, which is somebody who's had addiction, whether it's, I don't care if it's shopping or pornography or drugs or alcohol, is it becomes this all-consuming, narrowly focused thing in your life. All that mattered was, I need money so that I can buy drugs, and then I'm going to use drugs. And it was this cycle of doing those things. So it takes up a lot of time. So when you leave all that behind, well, what do you do with those hours a day that you were devoting to obtaining drugs, obtaining money for drugs, obtaining drugs, and using drugs? Yeah. So, like, fitness is something that will take some of your time, right? And so it's important, I think, to find something, even if it's not that, you've got to find something that's going to occupy your time, because you're not realizing how much of your time and energy and effort and thought process was actually focused on this thing. Yeah. And so you got to replace it with something positive.
Unbelievable. Bill, slide on in. Let's scoot over a little bit. We got my spiritual father. He's going to join us here. I think, there's so much here to be replayed, and there's no way there isn't someone that you need to share this with that's going through a difficult time. And I think Jeff's going to share a few more things too that are going to be powerful. As we get done, I have a few more questions as usual, but we're going to let Bill see what he has for us. But I hope you're enjoying this. So let me pass the mic on to.
Can you get me there? Are we good? We're good. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Ron. That was great. It's going to continue to be a little great too. So I have a couple questions about. Oops. What did I just do? Lost it. When you were young and you were living with your family in a loving environment, maybe not as much communication as you would have liked about the world, so to speak, about the spiritual aspect of the world. There was the preparation for you getting out into the world. You felt there was a little lacking. Am I correct?
Yes.
But yet you had a loving family. They loved you. They were proud of you. They supported you, and they still do.
Yeah.
I think, wow, that is so awesome to have. So many of us and so many other folks that find themselves in the condition that you were in don't have that, didn't have that big hole in their life.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is maybe a little different than where you were going with it, but what's interesting for me is that because I had that, once I decided to get my life in order and go the right direction, I had that example to fall back on. So now, like growing up, just because I rejected it doesn't mean that I didn't see it. It doesn't mean that I didn't, comprehend and internalize what it takes to be successful, right? I like, as people of faith, like I saw my parents like walk that path in spite of all of the challenges, like throughout their lives and dealing with me specifically, but they never faltered and never wavered from that. And so like I had an example of what it takes to be successful, in your personal life, in your spiritual life, and in a relationship, and as a family in a sense. So like I had this example to fall back on, where so many people that went down the wrong path, it's because they were just doing what they saw, modeled out for them as kids. So like I had this to go back to once I decided to go that direction. So for me, in one sense, it was really simple, because it's like, okay, Jeff, clearly you're not very smart, because look at where you are. So just do what they did, because that's maybe a better direction that you could go. Like you don't need to be very intelligent to figure that out. Just do what they did, because where you ended up was the wrong place.
That was a good model. And you have that. You have that today in your life.
Yes.
Yeah. See, that's so family still plays a big part in your life right now.
Oh, huge.
And I think that's
absolutely, I
think that's great. I also think it's great that you had experienced, when you were in jail, you experienced a gentleman that was on your same path. He was more positive than negative, realized what he did, and was taking some corrective measures. In replacing what could have been very sad and could have wallowed in with something that would bring you to a stronger place.
Well, and so that's the thing, is that as I looked around in jail and in prison, what I recognized is that, recidivism rates are like, I think over 70%, 71, 72%, something like that.
I think so.
So again, I don't need to be very smart. I just need to look at what they're doing and realize that most of them are coming back. So if I do what they do, I'm going to get what they get, which is a place right back here, when you mess up again. And so I just turn and run the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So like if you're going to play cards all day and try to like, cheek your medicine so you can get high by saving up 7 pills, or make alcohol out of fruit in the trash cans, or whatever it is that you're going to do, maybe I should not do that and go another direction. So for me, it was like exercise and reading and, staying in the Word and doing those things, because I knew that like the path to success was not what the people around me were doing. But also within that is that there are people who had the right attitude and the right mindset, and were doing the right things given the resources that you have, even in a place like jail or prison. Yeah. And so it's to seek out those people and surround yourself with those people, because it's easier to pull somebody off a chair than it is to pull them up onto it. So if I'm surrounded by the wrong people, they're going to pull me down, right? And so like I need to be focused on the right things and surrounding myself with the right people. Now there's a lot fewer of them in jail than there may be in the general population. Maybe not though, maybe not. But that was a big thing too, was put the right kind of thoughts and attitudes and desires around me, so that I can feed off of those things, as opposed to the negativity that comes from, the rest of the population.
I would think even in jail, you have good people make bad decisions.
Of course.
But they're still good people.
Yeah.
When you find them, you kind of are attracted, you kind of find your wavelength and you hook into them. You were very fortunate to have that. Once again, a supportive, different than the peer pressure that you experienced when you were a teenager to do things that weren't quite right. Smoke a little pot, get away from home, do a little craziness, get a little bit excited about doing something that was out of the norm for you. And that leads to, that peer pressure brings you down, just like you said. And it does, because you get hooked up with the wrong crowd. There's a right crowd and a wrong crowd, and we want to stay somewhere in the middle of that until we find our crowd, That's kind of the way we want to be. So from that point on, you were, like you had mentioned, you were selling drugs for about 20 years. When did that start? When did the selling and supplying others with your habits, so to speak, start?
High school.
High school.
Yeah, high school. Yeah.
So
just progressed from there. Yeah.
So that peer pressure and high school started that whole ball rolling.
I don't think it was peer. I think I was the peer pressure.
You were the peer pressure?
Yeah, I was the instigator. Like I was the one, the ringleader in that sense. I mean, I don't know how that came about, but that's just how it was. Like,
Yeah,
I was
okay.
I was the problem.
But you found that circle.
There's honesty.
Yeah. You found that circle that you could lead.
I created it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you became a leader.
Yes.
Maybe it wasn't in the right thing.
And
but
so,
you were a leader.
so that's the interesting thing, I think, is that, and I'm sure you guys have probably heard something like this before, it's that the skills and the abilities that are necessary to be let's call it a successful drug addict, they're just skills placed in the wrong direction.
That's right.
So if you take those same things and point them towards something good, I have the ability to, get something done and figure things out.
Yeah.
I just did it for all the wrong reasons. But now I can apply that to something positive. So the skill set is there. It's just got to be directed toward the right thing.
And and I believe that's more applicable to people's lives than we think. We think they're bad. They're always going to be bad. They can never change. They can never apply. When I was young, my father was a policeman. Okay, so he always had the authoritative thing, and he knew all the bad kids in town. He knew all the bad families in town, and he would tell me, if you're going to be a thief, be a good thief.
Be a good one.
be a good one. Don't get caught. And he would tell me that some people are skilled. Some people can do that. And if that's the life they choose, then be good at it.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid. You know.
Absolutely.
Who is it? Who's the?
Well, you look at the movie Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, I know.
Right. Here's a guy who was like the #1 paper hanger writing bad checks,
Yeah.
and now he went and worked for the FBI at the end because he knew what to do. So the same people that can break the system can also make it stronger if they just point that ability in the correct.
That's right. It
Turning your corruption for the greater good.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't mean that you're stupidly doing things wrong to get caught. It just means that you've surrendered your life, unfortunately. As you surrender your life to God now, you surrendered your life to kind of a demonic force, a force that was very destructive to you. Well, it's still, the skill set you have still applies today. Now, how long have you been out of jail?
I got out of prison in July of 2018.
18.
Yeah.
And your life has been
difficult.
Potentially.
Yeah.
But
it's actually harder all the time.
Yeah.
But I get stronger as I go through it, right? Because I continue to just face these things. I don't shy away from them, and that makes you stronger. And the stronger you get, the more you will be given, right? And so I think that's the whole thing. It's not that it gets easier. It's just that I get stronger and more capable of dealing with that. And the more that I do, kind of the more that gets put upon me.
But you never give up, though. You never give up.
Well, I didn't give up using drugs. Things got really rough, and I didn't quit. I wasn't a quitter. I was really stubborn.
That's
Again, this
true.
is focusing on the right thing instead of the wrong. I was committed to using drugs, and I was committed to the idea that I do not have a drug problem. That was my thing. Like, I don't have a drug problem. I'm not that guy under the bridge, right, with the needle hanging out of his arm.
It was denial.
Like, I've got
It was in denial, though. You knew.
Well, it was
Reconciled.
believing my own
okay.
BS, right? Like, I bought into the lie, and so it became easy in a sense to lie to other people because I bought the biggest lie, which is that I don't have a problem. And so because I could sell that to myself, in spite of all of these like incredibly horrible circumstances that went on over the course of 2 decades, like the fact that I could buy that means that I could sell that same thing to anyone else. And so it was easy to lie and manipulate and do that because I was doing it to myself.
It's a great skill set.
When reapplied, redirected.
Well, you had mentioned that you had gone to school to study addictive behaviors. How has that helped you in paralleling some of the things you learned?
Well, it's just interesting.
Yourself?
It's just interesting to understand it from, I guess, more of a scientific or a medical perspective.
Yeah.
I do think it's a spiritual problem. It's not necessarily a medical. There's a medical component to it, but I do think it's a spiritual problem.
Good versus evil.
I do think our problem as a human is separation from God, and the way my life turned out was my symptoms of separation from God led me down the path of drug use and dependence and addiction, whatever you want to call that. That is not everyone's experience, but our problem, I believe, is the same. So,
yeah, I have an addictive alcoholic family member. It's just, it's very, very difficult to see. to watch,
absolutely.
to deal with. Like you just said, I'm all about me. I need to do whatever I need to do to get the money to do whatever I want to do.
Yeah, and
continuous.
Everyone around can see that.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, dude, that guy's got a drinking problem. You know? It's like the easiest thing to spot ever. You're like, yeah, he's got a problem. But the person who's in it can't see it. And it's like, what is that? Like, what's going on that you can't see? That alcohol is the source of all of your problems, basically. You know?
No, I love that. I love that. I love that you've taken the time to even investigate and understand where you and where others that fall into that that addiction are coming from. What leads them in that direction and how to get out.
Yeah, again, I was the kid that needed to know why.
Yeah.
You know, so I had to study it to try to figure out, like, well, why did this happen and why did I not understand it? Because it seems so obvious now looking back, you know, like hospitalizations, overdoses, accidents, destroyed finances, relationships, whatever. It's like, how did you not see those things as a like, how did you not get the message? You know?
And you couldn't cry out because you didn't know there was a problem. You didn't think
I didn't have one.
You didn't have a problem.
I didn't have a problem. Yeah, it's maddening to think about in a sense. Yeah.
There's so much in your story that I'm so happy for you. You know, I'm so happy for you that you've gotten through that.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to help people understand, that no matter what happens, however you fall away, however you wind up experiencing or demonstrating your leadership skills, but you have to recognize them as leadership skills, which you did. Now, as far as your career right now, what are you doing?
So I work with my sister, and we do real estate. So we buy houses, fix them up, and resell them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good.
A lot of planning, a lot of strategic moves, a lot of shopping,
And it's something I can do with a series of felony convictions. You know, have my own business in a sense, because you are limited in some capacity with what you can do. Yeah. So it worked in that.
Very true.
Again, I was kind of a lot of options were whittled away for me, and so this was something that and it's worked out really well. So I've been fortunate to fall into this, but I never would have probably gone down this path if it weren't for those things. So
and it's been good to you.
And it's been good. And again, I get to work with my sister, which is awesome, because it means like we have that relationship that just was never there before in a different way. So like all that's really cool. So yeah, very fortunate.
No, I think that's just the fact that now here you are going through, let's just say, at least 25 years of hell, so to speak, that you didn't even recognize until it became so hellish that the world put you away.
Yeah, it was,
even the world that you were serving in some kind of evil way put you away.
Well, that's a little much. You went a little too far there.
Oh, okay.
You're going to have to take a time out.
You're going to have to take a time out. I think that's, and to recognize it that way and go into it that way. Like I said, many people.
The fact that we can laugh a little bit about what is a very serious situation.
Well, so here's the thing. Attitude determines outcome in some capacity. And so as I looked around, I'm like, these next 2 years, this is part of my life. So I can either just waste it or I can use it for something, and so that attitude has made a big difference. And like, attitude is something I can always control, attitude and effort, and so just having a good attitude, it matters. It does. And it's completely within your control to have that positive attitude. And so that's something that, and again, like I said, things have been rough. They're not easy. It's not like I decided to turn my life around and it was just like, it's been this, cloud walk ever since. No, it's not. But attitude is probably one of the biggest things, because I always had a bad attitude before. I was negative about everything. I hated God. I hated the idea of religion in general. It just, everything was negative. Life has no meaning, no purpose. Like, this sucks,
We never know that now.
Right.
Never know that now. No.
But again, like, that attitude led me further and further down that path.
That's why no one is unrepairable.
Yeah.
No one, no matter what your beliefs are, no matter what they, like you had said, we've been separated from our Christ, our Jesus, our God.
Yeah, and look at the Bible. All of the biggest characters in the Bible are deeply flawed human beings with all sorts of problems. The most prominent, of course, is Paul, who was literally murdering Christians, and he is also the most influential Christian that we have, most likely. I think most people would agree with that.
That's right.
And only God can take a tragic set of circumstances like that and turn it into something triumphant. You know, that is what God can do, and he can do it for anyone. And it's just the
so good,
just surrendering to that makes it possible. You know, and I think for me, as I've seen that play out in my life, I want to do more and more and more, not because things get easier or better necessarily from like a worldly perspective, but because there's just more peace that I have. The more I turn over to God, kind of the more he gives me in that sense, and the more he's able to maybe do something with me, you know? And so it's just working down that path.
I just want everyone to know that Jeff he's articulating so well his feelings, his life. What he has shared with us is just so valuable. I know Ron and Jeff, we want you to know how much we care about these things that happen to you. And Jeff sharing, and we bringing you the fact that somebody took the crap that he had and turned it into something golden right now. And it's just such an awesome, I don't know, I always say I wish there was a bigger word than awesome, you know, because awesome almost doesn't do it anymore. You know?
So that's interesting because, so when I first got out of prison, I was embarrassed and ashamed of the way that I had behaved, and I didn't know how to handle it. When I got arrested, it was on the news. And so when I get out of prison, I go out in public the first time, I'm like, man, I just hope no one recognizes me. This is like a news clip for 30 seconds from 2.5 years ago. Like, no one remembers, you know? No one's ever come up and be like, you're that guy that stole all the jewelry. Like, that's never happened. But I had this idea in my head that, like, this was so bad. It was the worst thing ever. And, like, no one's going to understand. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted distance from it, because I thought that if I could kind of build up enough of a resume, right, that I could somehow be like, yeah, I did those things, but look what I have now to stand on. Yeah. Right. And so I didn't talk about this for 3 years after I got out of prison, because I was afraid of what people would think, what they would say. Like, I just didn't know how to handle it.
Correct.
And it got to a point where, like, I had talked to 1 or 2 people, and a friend of mine, he was a bodybuilder, and he was like, dude, you're in really good shape. Like, go do a bodybuilding show, and this will give you a little platform to talk about, you know, where you were and where you are now. Like, just, you know, do it. He was like, just sign up, show up, you'll do really well. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, you're insane, you know? But I actually did that. And so one of the first things I did when I got out of prison was I deleted all of my social media for a couple reasons. Number one, because I was embarrassed and ashamed, and I didn't know what people would think or say, and I didn't want to hear that. Number two, I didn't need to focus on what anyone else was doing. I needed to focus on myself. So good. Right? And so, like, having these inputs, whether they're real or imagined, like, I didn't need any of that. And so my buddy was like, restart social media, put this story out there, right? Start talking about it and just see what happens. Like, you know, you could have an impact on some people. And so that's exactly what I did. And when Ron mentioned, you know, when he sees me, what he doesn't see is a heroin addict, right? That was actually part of what I wanted. Like, I want you to think of me actually, because, like, someone who was using heroin can be where I am. There's nothing that I did that's special. Number one, it's surrendering your life to Christ. Number two, it's just a commitment to following that path, right? And so, like, when you look at me, think of that junkie under the bridge, right? Because he can be here too. It just takes a little bit of time and effort, right? But, like, it's possible for anyone to turn it around. So what I used to think of, like, don't think about me. Don't think about, think about me, right? Because if I can do it, anyone else can do it. There's nothing special about me. There's nothing special about me. I don't have any set of skills or abilities or whatever that you don't have the ability to do as well. And so, think about me.
You do. You're doing so. You're doing so well. Right. Hey, thank you all for listening to Jeff. It's just, he's been an awesome guest.
You're done with the mic?
I'm done. Yeah.
All right. We're our typical. We're coming up on an hour. I'll tell you what. If you saw, I don't think you've ever seen me shake my head and smile, like, back and forth. This is unbelievable. If you don't share this out, shame on you. I mean, there's not a person that this can't touch. It's already touched me just listening to the way he expresses himself, the vulnerability that no one wants to be. They don't want to be vulnerable, the willingness to teach. And actually, that comes right in. What keeps you motivated to help others and share your story was a question. You kind of got into that. But what would you say to that? Are you looking to help others through what you've learned and the trials and tribulation and all the depths of despair that you've walked through, is that a desire for you?
Yeah, it is. And that's what I've learned by talking about it, is that by not talking about it wasn't doing any good for me, and it wasn't helping anyone else. And so what I've learned,
because a lot of people just don't want to share the especially that type of side, being in prison, heroin, all that. People want to keep that under,
what are they
swept
going to
under the
think
rug.
about me, right? And like, what?
And the reality is, most people. This is a good point. I've actually had to listen to this myself. Most people don't give a damn.
No,
Most people really don't. Like, we're all worried about the car we drive, the house. Most people really, when you really get down to it, they don't care what you think.
No, but what happens, what's happened and what I've learned, and the reason I continue to do it, is as I open up and share this, usually people reciprocate and tell me what their issue is. It's not going to be my same issue, right? Most people are like, oh yeah, I was a heroin addict too. That's not how it goes. But they have some problem that they can relate. And because I'm willing to be vulnerable and talk about it, they do the same thing. And now we're actually helping each other, right? Because we have struggles, we have problems, and we can find common paths to overcoming those things. And so our problems don't have to be the same, or our symptoms of that problem don't have to be the same, but how we deal with them is very, very much so.
So the title of this message, I gotta say it again, Jeff Vickers, I love it. Snazzy Jazzy Jeff on addiction, from the love of drugs to loving life and the people around him. I think I nailed it. Jeff is a loving man. He's fit. He cares about his body. He cares about people. And I do want to ask, for someone that's trapped in addiction right now, what would you say to that person? There's so many people that are going to see this, and hopefully because you like and subscribe, we're going to get this out and share this out, that are in a struggle right now. So let's circle back as we wind down. I have a life lesson question for you that we do at the end of every show. There's people struggling. We talked a lot about you. We talked about the person that might be a cyber hacker that now is working for the government to help use the criminal skill for the betterment and the greater good. You've been through the worst of the worst. The majority of people have never been into anything like you've been through. Give a couple tidbits. There's a person watching right now that's totally trapped, handcuffed in addiction.
Yeah,
You've got some powerful words.
I would say that through all of the years that I was using drugs and suffering or encountering all of these kind of tragic circumstances time and time again, I had an employer, a boss that was kind of a friend of mine as well. Like, he wanted me to change. Relationships, people wanted me to change. My family wanted me to change. Like, everybody around me had all this desire for me to change, but it did nothing because I didn't want it. So until you're willing to admit that maybe I got a problem, and until you want it, it's never going to happen. So like, until you're willing to just be honest with yourself about where you are, it's never going to change, because until you are able to recognize that and admit it, and that's just kind of the first step though, just admit it. Just take accountability for what the situation is, and that can change everything. That's actually the point where change is finally possible.
Now, you were forced into that change a little bit, Jeff, because of the culmination of your habits at that time in your life, and the lengths you went to secure the money you needed to continue your habit. So you were kind of forced into that. Was there ever, and maybe after you were forced into this, it came the sense of accountability? You had mentioned before that I realized what I did, and I realized I needed to do something. I needed to repent. I needed to do whatever I needed to do to change the ways that I had been. Even though you were forced into it, did that kind of fall on you, the sense of, I need to be accountable?
Yeah, and that's what I was saying about, just all the weight of all the things I had done. I just felt it in that moment. That's why I confessed. I'm not sure they never produced any evidence that they had that it was me that was guilty, that I was the perpetrator of this.
Yeah.
So I confessed, I finally did that. I could have continued to deny it. I don't know where it would have gone from there, and it doesn't really matter. But it was that moment, that recognition of like, you know what, I did it. Yeah. Drugs are a big reason why. Yeah. Drug use is a big reason why. It was that was the catalyst for all of this change. Because up to that point, I did not have a drug problem. It was something else or someone else or whatever that was the problem. I just don't have enough money. It was anything but me. And so that is such an important and necessary inflection point for any kind of change, because no matter how bad everyone around me wanted it, it wasn't enough because I didn't want it.
Yeah.
But now the opposite is true, right? Now because I want it, nobody can stop me.
Yeah.
Like I can do that. You know, it's only up to me in that sense, because you can want me to screw up, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna, you know, so because I'm determined to do the opposite. So it's that same set of skills and stubbornness, determination, whatever that you use for all the wrong stuff, use it for the right stuff.
Excellent.
Just unbelievable. So the final life lesson as we wrap up, we're at the 1 hour mark. 2 questions. We're going to wrap up. Lessons for life. Again, hope you are enjoying this. How can someone start taking one small step today toward recovery and purpose? Let's knock you down one more time. We kind of covered it, but what is a step or 2 someone can take? People love bullet points. I know you got something.
Yeah, I mean, I say, you know, that admission and then some level of accountability. You need someone that you can be accountable to for what you're doing, because we all need assistance on that journey, you know. And so somebody that you can be honest, and someone you can be honest with, and someone that's going to hold you accountable is a big piece of that, because we all need a hand. And you know, there's people willing to help. You just have to identify who that's going to be for you, and just be willing to do that.
And how would you define success and freedom in your life now?
Well, that's interesting. You know, a lot of people will ask me, what's my favorite Bible story? And people always think like the prodigal son, right?
Yeah.
But what I think about is the 2 men on the cross next to Jesus, you know, because one of them mocked Jesus and said, you know, oh yeah, King of Kings, like save yourself then. And the other one said, no, I think you're for real. I think, you know, you are who you say you are. And you know, what Jesus said in response was, today you will be with me in paradise. Now, here's a man who probably didn't do anything right in his life. He was being executed for whatever he had done. So he's probably a robber, a murderer, a thief, whatever. He probably never did anything that defined success in the material human sense. But his life was a success because he got the one thing right that matters. He recognized Jesus Christ for who he is. And that's the only thing that you need to do to be successful in life. So if you get that right, that's the only thing that matters. The difference between me and that guy is I have an opportunity to continue living my life. So while recognition of Christ is sufficient for salvation, right? It is not the end, it is the beginning, as long as you're not being crucified and today is your last day on earth. You know, now it's what do you do in the wake of that?
There's a mic drop. This is like a master upon master upon master class. What Jeff has been talking about is beyond profound. Just as Bill said, I'm at a lack for words. Jeff, you've been incredible. We're blessed to have you. Every one of you watching has been blessed to have him share a story of vulnerability. I don't know. We are here at Seat to Table in Naples, Florida. We love this place. It's BOGO Day. Buy one, get one day here. Please like and subscribe. You're going to see in the description below some links. We got Mr. Fitness here. We have links to Himalayan salt, electrolytes, other products. People continue to ask, how can you support Bill and I in this channel? Take a look at the links. Always check in the links below. We have a Amazon associate partnership there. And of course, we're grateful to BetterHelp for their sponsorship. And so the ways you can continue is just go to the subscribe button on YouTube, click the like button. Again, the subscribe button doesn't cost you a thing. So that is powerful. And the other thing is comments. We're not getting as many comments. So we want to see the comments come in. We want to hear from you, good, bad, or ugly. Share some things you'd like to hear. More people like Jeff. We'd love to have that. But I'm going to wrap up. We got a declaration, but I have a closing thought. I got to finish. So here it is. Jeff, your story is proof that our past does not define us. Our choices do. You turn pain into power and addiction into alignment with your purpose. Thank you for sharing your heart and showing others that redemption is possible. If today's story touched you, please remember, faith, discipline, and gratitude can rebuild any life, and never give up on your comeback. With that, we're going to close with a declaration. You're going to repeat after me. Jeff and Bill, I am blessed.
I am blessed.
Highly favored.
Highly favored.
Empowered to prosper.
Empowered to prosper.
And walking in divine health.
Walking in divine health.
All the days of your life. All the days of your life. In Jesus' name. Any final close?
Amen. No.
We're going to do a peace out or anything?
Peace out.
All right. God bless you all. Thank you for watching.